character. And it's now 3 o'clock, and so we're ready to begin. Thank you very much for joining us again from all over the Philippines. We have our participants from Pangasinan, from Davao, from San Mateo Rizal, um, Gitagum, Mindanao, hello, from Bulacan, San Miguel, Bulacan, St. Paul University, St. Paul University of Quezon City. We have from St. Columban College, Family Farm School in Batangas, South Crest School. Great. Thank you for sticking it out with us. And I hope your time this afternoon is going to be well spent. And I assure you, it will be well spent as we tackle a very, very important topic. This is usually the most in-demand seminar, actually, of all the seminars we offer in Catalyst, because many teachers want to get better strategies, more strategies on how to handle discipline inside the classroom, especially because the young people today have changed. I mean, it's a different type of generation. That's what we have been discussing the past few days, looking at this new generation called digital natives, wired generation, the rewired brain, etc. Okay, well, today I am excited to share with you many ideas. As a way of starting, like we always did, I think it's good to begin with a prayer. And here is um, the prayer written by Saint Ignatius of Loyola, asking our Lord to help us to be generous. Okay, well, that's a good way to start our session this afternoon. I We are now 74 in the room. On the first day, there were more than 100. Today, 74 so far. I think some others are still trying to get in. Now, I would like to know um, if this is your first time to attend a seminar of Catalyst or given by myself, please type in the chat box 1, okay? If this is your second time, please type 2. If this is your third, 3, fourth, 4, etc. Great. So I'm seeing here very many ones. This is their first time to join us. Sayang, you missed very, very interesting topics on class advisory, preventing bullying. Yesterday, we talked about a lot of strategies on how to form character of the students, regardless of what subject you're teaching. Great. We have so many ones here. A few twos. Balete, it's their fourth. They've been following from the beginning. SPC Vocation PH. Mamrina, fantastic. So it's a sprinkling of ones and fours. Um, Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, well, for the sake of those, and there are many of them who are joining us only for the very first time, please allow me to introduce myself a bit to you. My name is mannrentoy. I have been a classroom teacher for the last 34 years. And I taught in the University of Asia in the Pacific. Um, I just finished handling there, for example, the moral development of adolescents just this December with my MA students. And I have a double degree in AB journalism and literature from the University of Santo Tomas, and an MA in creative writing and a PhD in literature. And I founded a school in Iloilo City called Paref Westbridge School. It's an all-boys school, and it's now one of the top schools in Region 6. I served as principal of intermediate school in Southridge, which is also my alma mater. That's where I also finished high school. And I also served as vice principal of high school and the religion department chair. But the last 11 years, I have been going around the Philippines, going around the world, championing character formation, because I see that That is where the crisis is. And one of the ways we can address the crisis in character of the young people is by being better classroom managers. Okay? The way I will tackle classroom management today is also somehow rooted in the need to teach for character, the need to form the character of our young students. I mean, you cannot form the character of your students if you're the kind of teacher who resorts to shouting, screaming, yelling, hurting, harming, insulting, which very, very sad, but it happens sometimes in some places. Okay? And so we will need to know how to manage the class so that we can teach for character. The other work I have is as executive director of the Center for the Fourth and Fifth Arts Asia, um, which is affiliated with the Center for the Fourth and Fifth Arts based in the State University of New York of Dr. Thomas Licona. That's why we are also known as that, the Thomas Licona Institute of Asia. And one of the things I do as the director of Center for the Fourth and Fifth Arts is to bring to the Philippines world experts on character formation so that they can share with us strategies, ideas, and many of the things I'm going to share with you, I picked up from those experts that I brought to Manila. One of them is this, Dr. Hal Urban, the author of the book 20 Things Good Teachers Do, Lessons from the Classroom. And I'm going to share, yesterday I shared some ideas from his book with our participants. And I also dealt with Wiggins Grant, the one who wrote, one of the two writers of UBD, Understanding by Design. And of course, Dr. Thomas Licona, whom I consider to be my mentor, um, the acknowledged as the grandfather of character formation in the world, because it's because of him that many of the experts went into the field of character formation. And his books are considered to be the milestone books on character building, like Character Matters, Educating for Character. Those books are fantastic materials, and I'm going to share also some ideas from him. And of course, my very good friend, Dr. Michelle Borba, author of 27 best-selling books on character formation. And I'm bringing her back to the Philippines via Zoom on April 13, 14. I'm going to talk about that later on. I also brought the expert in the world on understanding the digital generation, Ian Jukes, and then another thing I do is to bring in speakers on chastity and purity, because this is in crisis right now. The young people need to hear more and more about the beauty of purity, chastity. So this one I did in 2012, and there were 15,000 people, young people, who listened to two speakers talking about the beauty of chastity and modesty and purity. And the other one is Jason Everett. Some of you may have heard him speak. Fantastic speaker on purity. And I brought him 3 times already to the Philippines. This one was in PICC. He came with his wife, Kristalina Everett, and they talked to 8,000 young people on chastity, purity. So this is what I was telling you about. I'm advertising already. Dr. Michelle Borba, her latest book is on why do some kids thrive even in this pandemic, even in this troubled world. So she's going to talk about, for 2 days, raising mentally healthy kids during troubled times. We've done our best to keep the cost very low. The regular price of the tickets is actually 500 per day, but if you purchase your tickets before February 28th, it's only 400 per day, and then you register for the 2 days, it's only 700. And she is one of the best speakers I've ever brought to the Philippines, and I hope many of you will take advantage that opportunity. Today, today, I am going to share with you things I got from the number one classroom management guru in the world, Dr. Harry K. Wong. He, I brought him to the Philippines with his wife in 2013, and he spoke to 8,000 teachers in SMX, 4,000 in the morning and then 4,000 in the afternoon on how to be super successful teachers. Okay, he is the number one authority on classroom management because of his book on classroom management entitled First Days of School. Okay? If there is only one book you're going to buy to be experts in classroom management, to be able to do classroom management in the best possible way, this is it. This is the only book you need. It's a thick one, and there are many strategies. Unfortunately, the book is usually not easily available in the local bookstores. But don't worry, I am going to share with you this afternoon now many of the salient ideas from Harry K. Wong. I got to meet him in San Francisco and I brought him to the Philippines. He was so happy to be here because he loves the Philippines. He loves very much the Filipinos. No, okay. So let's start. We need to make sure we manage the class so that teaching happens, good teaching happens. Pero teka muna, baka naman hindi problema yung classroom management. Baka may ibang problema. So, here are, according to Harry Wong, some warning signs of bad teaching. If these things are happening inside the classroom, bad teaching is happening. Okay? And so we have to make sure we don't have these signs. Number one, if the teacher shows little knowledge of the subject matter he or she is supposed to teach, then bad teaching is happening. Sometimes madidinig mo yung mga estudyante ganyan, nagrereklamo. Hindi ko naman maintindihan yung tinuturo ni ma'am eh. Mas naiintindihan ko pa pag binasa ko yung libro on my own. Mas nalilito lang ako pag nakinig ako kay ma'am. Maybe because there's little knowledge of the subject matter. And sometimes you cannot blame some teachers. Ano? Ang expertise nila is Filipino. Tapos biglang nagkulang ng teacher sa social studies, biglang bibigyan ng social studies, biglang bibigyan ng math. Poor teacher, that's not what she prepared for. That's not her preparation. But you can be sure she's doing her best. Pero maybe bad teaching is happening if she has little knowledge, he or she has little knowledge of the subject matter. Number two, lacks basic academic skills. Number three, holds low expectations for students. Teachers, please do not ever say something like this in front of the class. Class, kalahati dito sa inyo, babagsak. When you start your school year like that, with low expectation, I mean, you're going to be prophetic. You are going to be a prophet. Magkakatotoo yan. Because that is your expectation. That is going to be poor teaching happening inside the classroom. Low expectation. Number four, makes little effort to maintain discipline. Kaya minsan may student ganyan, nagrereklamo sa akin, Sir, hindi ko naman madinig si ma'am eh. Ang ingay-ingay ng klase. Hindi niya kayang patahimikin. Yan. I, I cannot understand the lesson kasi my classmates keep on talking with each other, and the teacher cannot make them keep quiet. Ayan. Low effort, little effort to maintain discipline. And then number five, does not focus on academic goals. Wait, here are more warning signs of bad teaching happening. Number six, cannot communicate knowledge in an interesting way. So, anong reklamo ng mga bata? Boring. I'm bored. Lagi niyong nadidinig na yan ngayon, ano, sa mga kabataan. Boredom. It's becoming like a major enemy inside the classroom. Well, maybe because the teacher doesn't know how to make the lesson interesting, then bad teaching is happening. Number seven, gives disorganized lessons and vague, careless assignments. Kaya ang mga bata minsan sasabihin, hindi ko nga alam kung bakit pinapagawa tong assignment eh. Parang wala namang kinalaman sa lesson. Parang it's just to keep us busy. Para bang just to be able to say na may binigay na assignment. Ayan. When things like that happen, when students say things like that, maybe bad teaching is happening. Number eight, does not assign homework on a regular basis. Number nine, is not aware of your child's strengths, weaknesses, and interests. Last January, nung binigay ko yung part of this talk sa Teaching Like Jesus, sabi ko, that's a very tragic thing, di ba? May estudyante ka, you were with that student for 10 months. Tapos pagpunta niya sa next level, dun mo lang nabalitaan, she is the best pianist in Asia. But you never knew about it. You were never interested to know, or you never bothered to know. Whatever the reason is, parang sayang. You missed an opportunity to have been able to uh, get to know the best pianist in the Philippines, the best violinist in Asia. And that's the talent of that student you had for 10 months that you never even got to know. Now, apply that talent to other strengths, weaknesses, and interests your students may have. Sabi ng experts, for education to be effective, it's got to be personal. There's got to be personal relationship between the teacher and the student if education were to be effective. Okay, last set. Kasi warning signs of bad teaching eh. So let's complete the 13 bad number. Unlucky number 13. Number 10, shows little enthusiasm for her work. Yan. Minsan, um, the subject becomes exciting simply because the teacher is enthusiastic about what she's doing, looks enthusiastic about how he's teaching. Di ba? Enthusiasm of the teacher matters. Pero kung ang teacher pumapasok ng classroom, para bang pinaparusahan, para bang she is being punished in entering the classroom, uh, bad teaching may be happening there. Yung bang parang, matapos lang tong school year. Sige na, tapusin na lang natin. Yan. Bad teaching may be happening. Number 11, belittles students' efforts. Number 12, shows no interest in communicating with parents. And number 13, exhibits unsound character or unprofessional behavior, which runs counter to all the things we've said in the first 3 days of the seminar. Because sabi ko sa inyo, the past days, the most effective way to teach character is to do the example of our life. We will be forming the character of our students if we show them good character. You will teach them professionalism in the way you come to class every day like a professional. We will teach them punctuality in the way you come to the classroom punctually every day. Okay, Harry Wong in his book First Days of School said, lahat daw ng teachers dumadaan dito sa 4 stages na to. The 4 stages of teaching. Stage number 1, ito yung fresh out of college, first day of the school year, excited ka, no? Naalala nyo yung first time you ever taught, the night before, nakahanger yung damit mo, planchado, planchadong-planchado. Prepared ka, pati yung jokes na sasabihin mo, yung papatawa mo, handang-handa ka, no? That was your day 1. And you thought that you are going to be the most popular teacher in the whole school. That's what you call the stage of fantasy. Ayan. Stage 1 of teaching, sabi ni Harry Wong, is fantasy. Yung bang ang akala mo, pagka sinabi mo sa class, okay class, time is up, I need to dismiss you, ang akala mo sasabihin ng mga bata, no ma'am, we want more, we want more, we want more. No, that's fantasy. I mean, fantasy is ang akala mo, you are going to be the favorite teacher in the whole wide world and you are going to be popular and you are going to be talked about and famous and fantasy ends the day you come inside your classroom and 3 or 4 of your students are sleeping in your class while you are lecturing something that you prepared for. Fantasy ends the day you enter the classroom, ang gulo-gulo ng classroom, ang kalat ng sahig, ang mga lamesa at saka mga silya, ang gulo-gulo. Tapos yung mga bata, ang ingay-ingay, they don't keep quiet. You tell them, go back to your places, and only 2 will move. The rest are still in their place, laughing, and that is when fantasy ends and the next stage begins. And it's called survival. Yan. Harry Wong said, you enter now the stage called survival. Sadly, some teachers stay in the stage of survival for a long time. Even some teachers for years. Where para bang the only objective of the day to keep the class quiet. Survival. Objective of the day to survive the day. Yan. Para bang ang gusto lang natin is matapos na lang ang araw. Some teachers in the stage of survival, after class, will go back to the faculty room. Nagbibilang doon 29 more days before Christmas. They're looking forward to the break, to the summer break. Some others, very sad, they go back to the faculty room after the class, counting 17 more years before retirement. Survival. That's the only thing the teacher is trying to do. Survive. It's very sad, but it happens, especially for teachers who don't know how to manage the class. Where para bang every class time, he or she has to resort to shouting to get the class to keep quiet, screaming to get the class to pay attention. He or she has to repeat, John, sit down. Joanna, stop talking. John, face here. 900 times per period. I'm not exaggerating. You sometimes can see teachers who would have to repeat hundreds of times. Sit down, keep quiet, stop talking, face here, eyes on the board, face me. What are you doing there? Enough of those things. Today, I'm going to share with you many strategies where you don't need to repeat more than 5 times. Listen up, pay attention, please listen here, and no need to repeat. John, sit down. Joanna, stop talking. What are you doing there? Why are you laughing? No, none of those things. Whether is shouting, screaming, or yelling, there are strategies to be able to do all these things without having to repeat again and again. Keep quiet, listen up, sit up straight, pay attention, stop sleeping. Why are no none of those things? So survival. Para bang the only objective of the day is to reach the end of the day. Yan. And pagka nagkaroon ng class disruption, typhoon, earthquake, no classes, holiday, siya ang pinakamasaya sa lahat. Mas masaya pa ang teacher who is trying to survive pag merong biglang holiday. Mas masaya pa siya kaysa sa mga estudyante surviving. When really, there are strategies to to get out of this stage of survival. Okay? And we're going to go over those strategies. Third, as you continue teaching, as you continue holding classes, you start realizing, ay, mas nakikinig ang mga bata pag pinagawa ko tong activity na to. Yung seat work na yan, itong group project, itong get a partner and do a um, paired discussion, yan. In other words, you start developing certain strategies on your own to get the students to do what you want them to do without ever having to resort to shouting. And you now enter the third stage called mastery. That's why we call them master teachers. Ever noticed? Did you ever notice? Pagmasdan nyo, observe classes of master teachers. Parang napaka-effortless. Without ever raising their voice, they can get the students to keep quiet. Ang galing ano? Minsan isang tingin lang nila, suddenly the class is very quiet. Minsan, you don't hear the teacher lecturing, but the students are busy working and working very hard. Ang galing ng teacher na yon. That's when you start becoming a master teacher, when disciplining, classroom management seems to be effortless. And yes, it's possible kahit you are on your first year as a teacher this year, you can develop certain strategies to start acting like a master teacher, to start teaching like a master teacher. That's the beauty of the strategies of Harry Wong. And then number 4, as you continue on teaching, you start realizing, oh, I am not just here to cover the curriculum. I'm here to impact the lives of my students. I'm here to make a difference in their lives. I'm here not just to teach math, but to raise young people to become smart and good. Not just smart, but smart and good. I'm not interested in seeing them simply know how to add, subtract, divide. I want to see them grow up with respect and responsibility, the fourth and fifth R's that I was talking about earlier. So, we can teach for impact if we know how to go about teaching like master teachers. Okay? Now, I am interested to know earlier, I asked you if this is the first time or the second time or the third time. Now I want to find out from our participants, how many years have you been teaching? Okay? How many years have you been teaching? Kindly please type in the chat box. 1, if this is your first year as a teacher. 2, I see Mark is on his second. Jerica is on her third. We have teachers who are on their 25th. Asa Abrasado is on her 25th year. Amazing. Sorry, this is Elsa. Yes. Elizabeth is on her 10th year. Claire is on her 15th year. 2 years na. Serena, Clarita is on her second. Nerissa, 11th. Zay Dizon is on his second. Fantastic. Okay. So, and we have 13. Christia Ann on her 13th year, 9th year. Marites Cayago, is her sister Marites? 27 years. Amazing. Kri is on her 7th month. Congratulations, you have survived the pandemic 7th month so far. 19 years for Rhea. Maria Teresa Padilla is on her 29th. Fantastic. 32 years from Ma'am Josie. Hello po. We have a lot of things to learn from you. 27 years from Ma'am Leonarda Bautista. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we have an idea already about our participants. Some on their 10th, some on their 20th. I mentioned earlier, I'm on my 34th year as a teacher, and most likely, most of you, many of you are already teaching for impact, making an impact in the lives of your students. Okay, you know, Sabi ko kanina, if there is only one book you will buy on classroom management, it's got to be the book of Harry Wong, First Days of School. Now, if you are going to buy only one magazine for teachers, only one magazine, it will have to be Educational Leadership. I'm going to share with you now. Okay? Educational Leadership is a fantastic magazine for teachers. They put their studies that have been made regarding teaching and learning. And one of the landmark studies they made is the top three traits of an effective teacher spanning 50 years. Can you imagine? Interviewing teachers of 50-year generation, 50-year duration. They interviewed thousands of teachers, thousands of students, asking them the question of all the effective teachers you've had, what are their top traits? Okay, let me put, uh, okay. What are the top traits? Yun yung tinanong sa kanila. And here is the answer. Here are the answers given by the thousands of the interviewees. Number one, lumabas sa study. They compiled all of them, the top traits of effective teachers, and here are the top three that came out from the research. Number one, they discovered an effective teacher is a good classroom manager, which is what this presentation is all about. We want to be effective teachers, and for that, we have to be good classroom managers. And that's what appeared in number one. People said, an effective teacher is a good classroom manager. The subject may be very difficult, but we learn because the teacher is a good classroom manager. The classroom may not have video projectors, LCD projectors, LED projectors. We were not in a beautiful auditorium, but the teacher is a good classroom manager. That's why we learn. So that's number one. Number two trait that came out in the research, they discovered an effective teacher designs lessons to reach mastery. Kahit anong hirap ng subject, because the teacher designed the lessons for us students to reach mastery na intindihan namin. Kaya, my dear fellow teachers, hindi ako bilib sa mga teachers na nagyayabang. Sa klase ko, kalahati, bagsak. Tapos sila pa yung mayabang, ano? And they brag about it. They think they have high standards, kaya kalahati ng estudyante nila bagsak. Sabi ng research, ma'am, sir, maybe something is wrong with the way you teach. Maybe you need to teach the way the students will learn, because they really couldn't care less about how much you know until they know how much you care. We talked about that last um, January in the series of seminars. Students really don't care how much the teacher knows. So, wag mong pagmayabang na ang iyong pagiging valedictorian, okay? Ang inyong pagiging summa cum laude, because those things don't matter for the children. What matters to them is, does the teacher really care? Does he care enough to help us pass? Does he or she design the lesson so that we will understand it, and we will not just understand it, but we will master it? So that's trait number two, according to that 50-year research on the top traits of effective teachers. And number three, the third top trait that appeared, an effective teacher has positive expectation that students will be successful. High expectation that is positive. Okay? So, we repeat, hindi tayo bilib sa mga teachers na nagyayabang na maraming estudyante nila bagsak, thinking that kasi ang taas ng standards namin. No. Maybe you need to be more, you need to expect more from the students. You need to have more positive expectation, that they will be successful. That's why, dear fellow teachers, let's look back at the best teachers we've had. Let us look back at the best teachers, most effective teachers we've ever had. We realize they were good classroom managers. They were very encouraging. They made us learn and even master the lesson, even if it is a very difficult subject. And then they gave us encouragement. They gave us enthusiasm even for the subject. In fact, some of you, some of us decided to become teachers because of these highly effective teachers who had so much faith in us that we will be successful. Those are the top three traits according to the leadership, educational leadership magazine research spanning 50 years. Okay, so sabi ng research, the number one factor governing learning is classroom management, not discipline. So please, ma'am, sir, pag maraming bumabagsak sa klase mo, tapos sinasabi mo, sir, alam nyo, sabi nyo kay Miss Principal, Ma'am Principal, alam mo maraming bumabagsak kasi walang disiplina ang mga bata. Ayan. Kasi ang generation of kids today, walang respeto na. Wala nang courtesy, wala nang kindness, walang discipline. No, sabi ng research, even if you have a class, half of them disciplinary problem. But if the teacher knows how to manage the class, learning can happen. He can make learning happen. And you have seen many movies about that. Stand and Deliver. Watch it. Or movies about teaching, teachers, successful teachers. You watch them and you see, ay oo nga, the single most important factor for the success of the students is the teacher, how he or she is able to manage the class. And it's not about disciplining. And then don't tell me self-esteem. Alam mo, Mr. Dantoy, maganda sana ang klase ko kung my students only come from middle class. Kasi walang self-esteem yung mga estudyante ko coming from very poor families. That's not true. That is not true. It's not self-discipline. It's not discipline. It's not self-esteem. It's not motivation. It's not even class size, sabi ng research. It's classroom management. Let me now differentiate discipline and classroom management, okay? We have been talking about classroom management, and some of us are thinking, if only I know how to discipline the class. Those are two different things. In fact, I should have entitled this talk, Stop Disciplining and Start Managing. Stop disciplining and start managing. Because um, what we really are supposed to do is to manage the class. Let me show you the clear distinction. They are two different things. Um, for example, stewardesses in airlines, they don't discipline, they manage the passengers. You remember what happens when you ride an airplane, any airline, Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, Air Asia, kahit anong eroplano yan, pag sumakay ka, what do before the flight? They review the procedures. Now, please, this is very important, my dear teachers. They review procedures, not rules. Not rules. Those are not rules. What are the procedures? They announce, please open the window shade, close the table in front of you, straighten up the chair, and fasten the seat belt. Those are all procedures. They are not rules. Okay? Because they are not disciplining, they're managing. So, kahit anong airline ang sakyan mo, pagsakay mo, when everyone is seated and then they close the door already, they review the procedures. They even review in case of emergency. the landing, the itong oxygen mask will come out. Please put on first on your own before you help a child. All of these are procedures. They are not rules because that's managing, not disciplining. Now, if stewardesses are not managing, but they are disciplining, this is what will happen. You remember what happens? After they announce the procedures, what do the stewardesses do? They now start going around checking if everyone is following procedures. They go around to check. If they see someone not following the procedure, they don't discipline, they manage. They do two things only. They simply say two things. Number one, they call you ma'am or sir. And number two, they tell you exactly what they want you to do. Yun lang. They tell you exactly what they want you to do. For example, sir, please straighten up the chair. Thank you. Ma'am, please open the window shade. Thank you. Sir, the seatbelt, please. They just do those two things. They call you ma'am or sir, and then they tell you plainly what they want you to do because they're managing. Now, here is what will happen if the stewardesses are not managing, but they are disciplining, which is what happens inside the classroom. They go around. Ma'am, hindi nyo man nadinig yung announcement? Di ba sabi namin, fasten the seatbelt? Kailangan pa bang tagalugin sa inyo? Pakiano nga. Ilang beses ba dapat sabihin sa'yo? Kailangan pa bang ulit-ulitin ko? That's disciplining. Which you notice is what teachers who discipline inside the classroom do. They say many unnecessary things. How many times do you have to tell you? Do I need to remind you? Hindi ka ba nakakaintindi? Kailangan ko pa bang ulitin sa'yo? Batukan kita riyan eh. Pag untugin ko kayong dalawa dyan, kanina pa kayo nag-uusap eh. That's disciplining. That's not managing. Stop disciplining and start managing. That's the principle of Harry Wong. Okay? So, if you're managing, therefore, you just have to do two things. John, please sit down. Yun lang. Call the person by name and tell him exactly what you want him to do. But better yet, I'm going to teach you strategies on how not to even have to say, John, sit down. Joanna, stop talking. Alfred, face here. Gilbert, what are you doing? No, none of those things. There are strategies to get John, Joanna, Albert, Gilbert do what you want them to do without you ever having to keep on repeating the same things of sit down, how many times to tell you, etc. That's classroom management. We will talk about that. Okay? How do you do it? Here it is. The best way to manage the class is to have procedures and routines. Therefore, ma'am, sir, to have a successful school year, spend the first days of school rehearsing, mastering, memorizing procedures and routines. Kaya pala yun ang title ng book ni Harry Wong, First Days of School. Because those are the things you're supposed to be doing in the first days of school. Teaching and rehearsing procedures and routines. Rehearsing them over and over again until they become automatic routines. Okay? That is how it is to manage a classroom. Clearly define classroom procedures and routines. I have to clarify, procedures and routines are not rules. They are simply how you want the students to behave, what you want the students to do inside the classroom. Okay, we are going to go over some of those procedures and routines. And it's not a waste of time to spend the whole 2 days of the first 2 days of the school year just rehearsing over and over the procedures and routines. It's not a waste of time because if you get them to master those procedures and routines for the rest of the school year, it's going to be like a clockwork, a everything just works perfectly well. You just get the students to do what you want them to do. Okay, sabi ng research, you want students to be responsible, right? Well, Here it is. The only way you can have responsible students is if you have procedures and routines which they can be responsible to. Now, please, teachers, understand this very clearly. After teaching them procedures and routines, they are responsible to the procedures and routines, not to you. Therefore, don't get angry if students are not following procedures and routines. Do not ever say something like, John, how many times to tell you, are you challenging my authority? No, they're not challenging your authority. John is simply not following the procedure. And he is just not doing the routine. All you have to do really is to tell John, John, what's the procedure? Okay, I'm going to share with you this procedures and routines so that it makes more sense. Why? Ay, oo nga, that's the only thing I need to let them do. Follow the procedures and routines. Number two thing that the research says, when students know how the class is run, believe me, they will more willingly do whatever you want them to do. If the students know how your class is run, the students will be more willing to do what you want them to do. That's just how it is, according to research. Okay, so let us look at procedures and routines. They are two different things. Let's define them. Procedures, what you want students to do. And you make them do it over and over until they become routines, what the students do automatically. Okay? Procedures and routines. How do you want the students to reply to your question, to answer, to recite? What's your procedure? What's your procedure in starting the class? Do you want them to be standing up by their desk? Do you want the classroom to be clean? Is that part of your procedure? Do you want them to be facing you, not talking? Is that your procedure? Then teach it to them and rehearse it. That's where many schools fail in. They know the procedures, but they do not rehearse. They don't rehearse with the students over and over again until those procedures become routines. Let me give you now some examples of procedures and routines, because the number one problem in the classroom is not discipline, it's the lack of procedures and routines. Okay, so here are some samples of procedures and routines you should have inside the classroom. How do you want them to pass their papers? When you tell them, okay, pass the papers forward. Ah, sabi ni Harry Wong, that is the worst way to collect papers inside the classroom. Pass the papers forward. That's the worst way, because the people at the back are trying to pass their papers to the person in front of them who is not looking. So what do the people at the back do? They have to hit the person in front of them with a paper. Uy, pass na raw, pass na raw. Tinamaan niya ng papel sa ulo. So, haharap ngayon yung nasa harap. Ano ba? Hindi pa ako tapos. And you have the whole class erupting into chaos simply because the teacher said, pass the papers forward. That's the worst way to collect papers. Sabi ni Harry Wong, this is the better way. If, for example, there is an aisle, okay? Let's mute the microphones first. If, for example, there is a middle aisle inside the classroom, the best way to collect papers is to tell the class, okay, class, at the count of 5, all papers to the aisle. And they know the procedure because you rehearsed it with them in the beginning of the school year. And you don't say pass the papers forward, you pass the papers to the aisle. So those from the right side, they will pass the paper. The aisle is on the left side. They will pass the paper to the person beside them. Now take note what I said. Okay, class, at the count of 5, all papers to the aisles. You see, time is very important. You only need 5 counts to have the papers all in. And they know that 5 means the people at the extreme seats should already be giving the paper to their person next to them, um, when you say 5. 4 means that person now who has put his paper on top of the paper of the person who passed will now pass it to the next and to the next. By the time you reach three or two, nasa aisle na yung paper. And by the time you reach one, you will now walk down the aisle collecting the papers from the persons in the aisle. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Teachers, don't be afraid to say thank you very much. We talked about that 2 days ago. Dapat umuulan sa loob ng classroom ng thank you, ng please, ng sorry. I gave my word. Four important words. So, that's the procedure, okay? In the beginning of the school year, you should be teaching the students. Now, it's not too late. For example, you can teach the students this. Well, okay, we are not yet in the face-to-face classroom. This is especially important for inside the classroom procedure. But that is what you should be doing in the first days of the school year inside the classroom. Okay, class, here is the procedure to pass in papers. Okay, I you explain, and then let's rehearse it. Bring out one whole sheet of paper, write your name, and then let's rehearse it. Okay, at the count of five, right? Five. You notice John is not passing his paper. Don't get angry. Don't shout. Don't scream. You just have to say, John, what is the procedure, please? Show me. And then he will pass his paper. Thank you. Day five, you are again asking them to pass the papers. Okay, pass the papers now to the aisles. Five, four, John is not passing. Don't get angry. Don't shout. It's just a matter of saying, John, what is the procedure, please? Show me. He will do it. Thank you. So that's the only thing we will have to do to make them follow the procedure. Even if you will have to repeat 100 times in the next 100 days, John, what's the procedure, please? Show me. But at least you didn't have to shout or scream or yell. And you will never ever say, John, are you challenging my authority? Are you insulting me? No, none of that, because he is not insulting you. He is just not following the procedure. Heading of papers. Enough of these questions. Sir, what do we put? Full name? Do we put the subject on top? Do we put the date? Do we need to put the... If you explain that procedure on day one, for the next 200 class days, you never have to answer that question like that. You just have to say, okay, follow the procedures in heading your papers. They know already that it's full name, that they need to put the subject, that they need to put the date, that they need to put the class number, whatever it is that you agreed with them as the procedure in heading papers. On how to enter the classroom. When they need to ask a question, do they need to raise their hand? Should they wait for you to acknowledge them? What is your procedure? If there's no procedure, you know what happens. What are you raising your hand there? Put it down. No, no question now. Well, you don't have a procedure. That's why they don't know what to do. They don't know if how do they go about asking permission to go to the washroom. Uh, you notice kinder schools, primary schools, they're very strict on procedures. Alam ng mga bata, pag forming a line, ano ibig sabihin ng 1? Ano ibig sabihin ng 2? Arms forward. Anong ibig sabihin ng 3? Hands down. Ano ibig sabihin ng 4? Keep quiet. Procedures. It works. It works. And yes, it should also work, even in high school and even in college. Even in college. When I want the students to end their discussion and I need them to listen to me, I don't shout, I don't scream, I don't yell. I just raise my hand calmly. And they know that, okay, time's up for the discussion. Keep quiet now. The teacher is about to announce something. And then I put my hand down when I see that they're all paying attention already. When teacher is tardy, what is your procedure? If you don't have a procedure, when the teacher is tardy, the classroom turns into a zoo. Diba? That's when trouble starts, when fighting starts, when noise becomes reaches high level. No, in my classroom, I have a procedure. Okay, class, if the bell rings and there is no teacher inside the classroom, here's the procedure. Class president, class vice president, you take over the class. You stand in front, secretary, you will go to the office and inquire who's the substitute teacher. Is the teacher absent? Who's going to take the place of the teacher inside the classroom? That's the procedure. That's why even if the teacher is tardy, even if there is no teacher inside the classroom, there is order. That's classroom management. When students know how to behave because they rehearsed and they have practiced and memorized the procedures, they have become routines. More procedures and routines. How do you end the period? How do you do the dismissal? Don't let the bell be the one doing the dismissal. You're the teacher, you're the one who calls the shots. It's your call if the student is if the class is dismissed. How do you what's your procedure if the student wants to participate in class discussion? What do you do if a student really needs to borrow a ball pen, a paper? Uh, let's face it, don't be too strict about this. It's possible they lose their pen. It's possible they can lose a paper. They can misplace a paper. So, what is your procedure if they really need to borrow from a classmate? Now, coming to attention, I gave us an example earlier. If I need to get my students to pay attention, to listen because I need to make an announcement, I just have to raise my hand calmly until everyone is quiet, and then I put it down and then I start talking. Teachers, teachers who don't have procedures to get the class to come to attention, what do? They have to shout kasi ang ingay ng klase. They cannot be heard. They have to shout even more loudly than the voice of the students. Please don't punish yourself unnecessarily. Here's a strategy from Harry Wong. Salami, salami, stop and look at me. Class, if I need to get your attention, if I need you to stop talking, let's say I give you time for uh, how do you call that? Yung exchange ideas with a partner. And the class is very noisy because it's a noise of activity. You are making them discuss the lesson. But I need to make an announcement. I will stand in the middle of the class and have my hand raised. When you see me like this, it means stop whatever you're doing and whatever you're saying, even if you're in the middle of a sentence, and look at the teacher. If there is a student beside you who is not looking because he's facing the other way, call his attention, tap his back, point to the teacher that the teacher is calling for salami. Stop and look at me. Okay, let's rehearse it. Now, the two of you exchange ideas, what you did last summer. The two of you are partners. Get a partner and start talking about what you did last summer. And then when the noise level is very high, you go to the middle of the room and calmly raise your hand until everyone is quiet. Maybe in the beginning it will take 7 seconds before finally everyone is quiet. Class, let's do it again. This time, let's see if we can all keep quiet in a count of three. Not seven, not 10, but in three, two, and one, I want everybody to get. That's the procedure. You rehearse it over and over until it becomes a routine. Once I was invited to St. Paul Pasig, and there were 1,000 students. It was an assembly of students from all the different St. Paul's schools around the Philippines. It was going to be a 1 week seminar on journalism and leadership. And we were given, my group, my class, my club, Catalyst, was given the chance to handle the leadership and journalism seminar. The whole auditorium was packed and noisy because everyone was excited. It was the first day of the 1 week seminar. And here came Sister Dedication. um, going up the stage, and then calmly raising her hand. And in a matter of 3 or 4 seconds, the whole auditorium that was packed suddenly all quiet. They know the procedure. They follow it. It has become a routine that when the teacher goes up the stage and the hand is up like that, it means stop talking and look at me. I'm going to announce something. It works. It works if you really make it a procedure that has become automatic, a routine. Okay, and you can come up with many more procedures. The book of Harry Wong, First Days of School, lists down many procedures. For example, some of them you will only teach before graduation. The procedure on getting the diploma and shaking the hand of the principal. That's a procedure. And then they walk the aisle and bow and then go down. You see, it's not a rule. It's just a procedure. Some of them you can teach because the procedures are related to the intrams. So, how do we form our line to go to the assembly place for the intrams? Okay, you're not going to teach it on the first day of the school year, but all the others, everyday activities, everyday procedures that you do inside the classroom, you teach during the first days, because it's the procedures that set up the class for achievement to take place. Okay, well, I've been talking for an hour, and like what I always do in the middle of our 2 hour session, I'm going to give you a break, washroom break for some of you, while I show a video, which I think this one is just a 4 minute video, so that those who need to go to the washroom, those who need to go to the to get water, those who need just a little break can take advantage of this time, while the others can enjoy this. Well, I'm most likely some of you may have seen this advertisement about Ate Germain as a way of taking a break for now.
Ako po si Jermaine Marie Catag. I'm 30 years old and I have 3 siblings. I'm the eldest. Next is Lynn Grace, 25 years old.
Ilay, paunahan ta.
Jerson, 20 years old.
Thank you, talaga.
Anna Marie, 15 years old.
It's a very good presentation. It shows
My
your
dad passed away 7 years
Nadidinig niyo ba ako?
ago. So, breadwinner, sumalo
it shows your
ng
ability
posisyon ng
how to
tatay
get
ko. But it's
information,
okay.
analyze
I started
them,
working.
and
Unang-unang
think
ginawa ko
that
na working.
I'm also
Tapos,
happy
on the
that
side, yung
si Andre
events,
dress up
hosting.
well. Maganda yung background. And in
Lahat mo
same
ginagawa
manner,
para lang
si
kumita.
Ashley,
Actually, alam niya ng... Alam nilang lahat. Pagod na rin ako minsan. Hindi ko mag-ibi. Hindi ko mag-ibi. I'm just so blessed na sa itsura ko, pag lumabas ako ng kondo ko, I'm a different person. I'm a happy person. Para wala akong problema. Pero, I'm 30 and I'm so tired. Kasi gusto ko din magkaroon ng sarili kong pamilya. I really want to have a baby of my own. I mean, minsan you yearn for it. And sometimes gusto ko rin yung ma-feel na yung makapagpahinga ako. When I can sleep na wala akong isipin for tomorrow. Kasi sarili ko lang iniisip ko. Alam mo yung ganun. Gusto ko rin maranasan yun na hindi ako ma-stress.
Gusto ko po siya, i-hug, tapos i-kiss po sa cheeks. Kasi hindi ko po siya na-hug. Tapos gusto ko talaga mag-thank you sa kanya, mag-I love you, ganyan. Kasi hindi po ako nakakapag-I love you sa personal, ganyan po.
Actually po, parang yung I regret my life right now kasi hindi ako nakakatulong sa kanila. Kahit na ako yung nakagraduate, gano'n. Wala akong may natutulong kasi may anak na po ako.
Mimi.
Salamat dahil hindi mo kami pinapabayaan kahit na alam mo naman na kaya ko sana pero hindi kinaya.
Happy birthday!
we're blessed po to have a sister like her.
Thank you gid sa tanan. Kay tungod sa imo. Tungod sa imo nakapag-eskwela kami. Kag may balay kita subong kung wala ka. Base sa karsada na kami guys, star. Thank you gid at I love kay. Wala mo kami ginabayaan.
Hindi ako magsisisi every single day of my life to spend something for my family as long as happy sila. Kasi yun yung pinagsisihan ko nung buhay yung dad ko. Hindi ko nagawa yun.
Okay, well, I hope that was a good break for you. As what we always do, because some of you suddenly in the middle of the talk or the middle of the presentation, your Wi-Fi becomes problematic. This talk is being recorded and you can always go back to the video, the recorded talk, later on in case you get disconnected, okay? And as I always say, the link is going to be posted in the Facebook page, um, bet, uh, facebook.com/groups/schools of character. So just look for it. Make sure you're part of that group so that you can access the PowerPoint presentation as well as the recorded video of this presentation, um, in case you get disconnected somewhere along the way. And I have one participant who didn't get the passcode. So most likely she missed the first hour. You can always go back to that video. Our apologies for that. Okay, let's talk about 6 levels of moral development according to Kohlberg, which will explain why um, it's important to do classroom management according to these 6 levels. Our objective is yung estudyante natin, whether it is in the physical classroom or in the Zoom classroom or in the Google Meet classroom, we get them to be 6th level thinker. Okay? So, let's apply it to classroom management. Kohlberg says, bakit ba nagpapakabait ang isang tao? There are 6 levels na pinagdadaanan ng isang tao why he or she does the good thing. Here's the first level, ang pinakamababang level sa lahat. Bakit daw gumagawa ng tama, kabutihan, ang bata? Because I don't want to get into trouble. Kasi sabi ni ma'am pag kayo nahuli ko, naku, makikita nyo, madedetain kayo, masususpend kayo. So, the student now will only behave because they don't want to get into trouble. They don't want to be punished. They don't want to be given any form of trouble or punishment. Ang problema dito sa level 1 na to, di kung walang teacher, walang nagbabantay, they do whatever they want. Because anyway, the teacher will not punish them because wala naman sila. That's, sabi ni Rafe Esquith, the one who applied the Kohlberg 6 levels to classroom setting. We teachers can do better than this. Please refrain from disciplining using terms like that. You better watch out, you better watch out. Makikita nyo, I'm going to punish you. Then you are fostering level 1 only of moral development. You're making them think, first level thinker, the lowest in being good. Here's second level. Why do they behave? Why do they do the good thing? Because I want a reward. I want a reward. And in primary schools, very strong tayo sa reward. The kids get a smiley, good student ribbon, ayan, or reward. O kaya, when the high school teacher says, class, if you all study hard, I'm going to give you a free time. Ayan, I want a reward. Okay, better, the reward is already better than just avoiding a punishment. Pero sabi ni Rafe, we can still do better than this. Here's the problem with I want a reward as a reason for doing good. The problem here is in real life, you and I, adults know that in real life, minsan kahit anong ganda ng trabaho mo, the reward does not come. The reward does not come. Minsan, kahit anong sipag mo, there is no reward. I mean that the principal is not going to say, okay, very good, may bonus ka. But that's not reason for us to stop doing the good. We do the good because it's the right thing to do, not just because we are working for a reward. Here's third level, according to Kohlberg, applied to classroom management now by Rafe Esquith. I want to please somebody. And you have many students who are like this, doing the right thing because they want to please their parents. Doing the right thing because they want to please the teacher. Di ba? May tawag tayo minsan dyan eh. Sip-sip. Ayan, yung ganyan. Again, the problem with level 3 is in real life, minsan kahit anong ganda ng trabaho mo, the principal doesn't seem to be pleased. I mean, she does not make announcement, okay, this week, the hardest working teachers are the following. You don't expect that. I mean, sometimes it happens, but many times you just let it be. I mean, it's just not our only motivation to please the principal. We can do better than this. Sabi ni Rafe Esquith, we can make the students do the right thing, not just to please somebody, not just because there's a reward, not just to avoid a punishment. Here's the fourth. I follow the rules. And you sometimes have people like this. Para bang for them, the only important thing is we follow the rules. That's the procedure. That's the rule. That's the policy. Yan. And I don't like it, for example, in some schools, nangyayari to. Minsan, pinagre-report ang teachers to come on a Saturday morning kahit wala namang activity, walang events, bakit pa tayo pinapunta? Because that's the policy. It's not a holiday. It's counted as work day. So you come on a Saturday morning. Worse, between Christmas and New Year. Ayan. Some companies do this. Between Christmas and New Year. Yung secretaries, minsan pinapapasok sa ibang kumpanya. Wala naman ang mga boss, nakabakasyon. Kasi work day yan eh, hindi naman yan holiday eh. Basta pumasok kayo. Di gumastos ka pa ng aircon, ng electric fan, ng computer, ng internet, gumastos ka pa ng kuryente. Bigay mo na lang as a holiday to these secretaries. It's life sometimes, it's not just all about rules. Mas matutuwa pa ang mga secretaries mo, ang non-academic staff mo, pagbigyan mo na lang sila ng holiday na yan. And even worse is, if you will require the teachers to report, anong gagawin nila? Wala namang test papers, katatapos lang ng exams. Basta, pumasok kayo kasi that's the policy, that's the rule. It is not a holiday, it's a working day. No, sometimes we go beyond the rules in life. In fact, here's the problem with level 4. In real life, many times, the heroes are the ones who are ready to break the rules. Jose Rizal broke rules, went against authority. Even Jesus Christ broke rules. He performed miracles even on a Sabbath. Because sometimes in life, there's more to life than just rules. It's not all about rules. Okay, so that's the fourth. Pero ang ganda na nito, no, if you can get your students to be thinking fourth level, we have to follow rules. We have to obey the rules. We have to obey the regulations. Nice. But we can do better than this. Here are now the fifth and the sixth levels, which, sabi ni Rafe, Esquith, you, dear teachers, should be helping the students reach this fifth and sixth level thinking. Why do they do the good thing? Because number five, because I am considerate of other people. I have to do the right thing. Study hard because I have to be considerate of my parents who pay for my tuition. I have to be doing my best in my academics. The teacher is doing her best. I have to be considerate. Pinaghirapan ng teacher ito na ituro sa atin ng lesson. I have to listen. I have to pay attention. I am considerate of other people. That's fifth level. Can you imagine if you get your students all thinking to be considerate of other people? Ay, ang ganda ng classroom mo. One day, Rafe Esquith was absent. He was invited to give a lecture in another city in the United States. So a substitute teacher took over the class. Napansin ng substitute teacher, yung mga estudyante, pag nag-uusap among themselves, mahina ang boses, yung parang nagbubulungan. So, tinawag niya yung isang student nung substitute teacher. Sabi ng substitute teacher, I notice you're talking in low voices. Is that the rule of Mr. Esquith in your class? Sabi ng student, no, it's not the rule. We are talking in low voices because we will disturb the other classrooms if we are noisy. Because we don't want to disturb the classes next door. Wow, Rafe Esquith got his students to be thinking level 5. I am considerate of other people. But here's the sixth level, the highest level, which is what we as as class managers should train our students to be able to do, whether in the face-to-face classroom or Zoom classroom or Google Classroom. Why do we do the right thing? Because I have a personal code of behavior and I follow it. If you can get your students thinking sixth level, class, please behave well. Study hard. Why? Not because I'm going to punish you, level 1. Not because I have a reward to offer you, level 2. Not because you're just trying to please me, level 3. Not just because it's the rule. It's because you belong to this class. You belong to our school. And in our school, every student is a responsible student. If we can talk like this, ibig sabihin, we are able to make students think level 6 thinking, malakas ang ating core values, malakas ang ating school's mission vision, mataas ang ating consideration for the school's motto. Yan. I have a personal code of behavior and I follow it. Good parents do this. Good parents do this. If your parents are good, I'm sure you heard them say this. I'm sure you've heard them say this. Man, kailangan magpakabait ka ha. Dala mo ang pangalan ng ating pamilya. Think about that. That is sixth level thinking. Man, kailangan magpakabait ka ha. Dahil dala mo ang pangalan ng ating pamilya. And ang ating pamilya is equivalent to integrity, uprightness, morals, goodness, kindness. You better behave, ha? Dahil people judge our family according to what they see in you. Wow, that's sixth level thinking. Class, please behave in the best possible way inside the school and outside the school kasi you carry the name of our school. Yan. If you're able to say things like that, ibig sabihin you are reaching or you are training the students to think level 6 thinkers. I mean, to be level 6 thinkers. Kaya, malinaw dapat sa mga kabataan, what does it mean to be a student of St. Paul of Quezon City? Dito sa aming eskwelahan, we are men for others. That's what we have to be known for. That's our personal code of behavior and we follow it. You see, this is the reason why if you want to be a school of character, you have to be driven by your school's vision, your school's mission, your school's core values. Which is what all whole week seminar is all about. Tomorrow, when I meet the participants, we will talk about that's principle number one. That's principle number one of being a school of character. That you have core values, and everybody knows what those values are in your school. Okay, so those are the 6 levels of moral development that if we are to train our students in, if we are going to train our students in the principles of good classroom management, then this is it. Okay, so let's go on to other strategies on how to solve that discipline problem. How to get the students to do what you want them to do without ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, and yelling. This is based on a cassette tape I received as a gift in 1991 from a friend who arrived from the US. It's a cassette tape entitled Once and for All, You Can Solve That Discipline Problem by Harry Wong. Okay? And he shares many strategies there, really, that can get you to address the problem of discipline, the problem of students not following procedures. Believe me, the kids want discipline even more than you do. No student would ever want to be in a classroom where they are in danger of being harassed by a classmate, where they are in danger of being insulted, of being harmed. The kids want discipline even more than you do. First, let's talk about the 5 kasinungalingan tungkol sa pagdidisiplina. Here are the 5 myths of discipline. Myths because hindi sila totoo. Okay? Unang-una, the first myth, do not smile until Christmas. Ayan. And it's absurd, but I heard a senior teacher advising a first-year teacher, alam mo, wag kang ngingiti. Pakita mo sa kanila na nakakatakot ka. Kailangan matakot ang mga estudyante sa'yo. That's a myth. That's a lie. That's not true. In fact, if you were with us in the strategies 2 days ago, I think, um, that's how I begin my school year. I welcome my grade 5 students inside my classroom, shaking their hands with my biggest, widest, fakest smile to welcome them to the classroom on day one. 1 hour before the bell rings, I would be standing by the door because I need to let them know I'm happy to see you. I'm excited to have you. This is going to be your most fantastic school year. So it's not true. Don't believe that myth. Do not smile until Christmas. No, there's nothing wrong with welcoming the students on day one with a smile. Number 2, sir, Mr. Antoy, wala sana akong problema with classroom discipline if only I am big and tough. Again, that's not true. Some of the best teachers we've had were frail, thin, and very motherly, very fatherly, and they are not scary. So this is a myth. It's not true. You don't have to be scary to have good classroom management. You don't have to be scary to be able to control the class, to have class management. Here's myth number 3. Sir, alam mo kung meron lang sana kaming latest gadgets, latest Wi-Fi, strongest Wi-Fi connection, very good. Every classroom has a fantastic LCD, LED projector. That's a myth. If your school can afford them, fantastic. Go ahead and have those latest gadgets. But that's not what will solve discipline inside the classroom. Okay? I know a school. I helped a school. Every classroom may giant TV, yung talagang widescreen television na high definition. But they have a lot of bullying in the school. But the teachers are being pushed around by the students. Many of the students are brats, ganyan, ano? So it's not the gadgets. That's not what will solve classroom discipline. Number four, Mr. Antoy, alam mo, wala sana akong problema with classroom discipline if only my students are middle class lang. Hindi yung mga napakayayaman who can be very bratty. Hindi yung mga napakahihirap na walang motivation, walang mababa ang self-esteem. That's not true. That is not true. I have had students in UANP who, alam nyo, some of them, I remember, nagla-lunch sila kasama ng mga taxi drivers sa NEDA, karinderya beside NEDA. Kasi that's the only thing they could afford, a 20 peso lunch. While some of the students, ba, twice pa mag-Starbucks, morning, tsaka afternoon. Ba? But it's not the problem of middle class or rich or poor. No, it's still all about the teacher knowing how to manage the class. So that's a myth. I will not have problems with discipline if only my students all come from middle class. Of course not. That's not true. And here's the fifth myth, kasinungalingan. And I hope we have young teachers here. This is especially for young teachers because many times it's the young teachers who fall into this myth, into this trap. Sir, wala akong problema with classroom discipline kasi I will be friends with my students. I will be chummy-chummy with them. You know, we speak the same language. We will even eat together in McDonald's. That is a myth. In fact, if there are new teachers here, we need to plant in their mind very clearly, ma'am, sir, you are not just meant to be friends with your students. You're meant to be role models, not just friends. Those are two totally different things. Because sometimes ganito ang problema with some young teachers. Kala nila being in the same level with the students, they will not have problems with discipline. They will be friends with them. Barkada, parang barkada lang ang turingan. I have seen tragic ends to that. I have seen many cases like that ending up tragically. You are not just meant to be friends with your students. Be friendly. Be very, very friendly, smiling a lot, even joking sometimes in your class. But you are not just meant to be friends. You are meant to be a role model. Someone the students will look up to. Someone students will say, paglaki ko, gusto ko kagaya ni ma'am, ni sir. Respetado. Ang taas ng standards of morals, kindness, goodness. Okay? Well, there is a request. How can I get a copy of all the talks? Sister, you can go to Facebook page and all the recorded talks of the first 4 days are already there. The links are there. Click on the link. It will bring you to the YouTube video. They are not public. They can only be accessed by those with that code because some of the videos I embedded there, fina-flag ng Facebook as copyright infringement. Okay, so that's why maybe I will make the videos available there for 1 week. The teachers, I know some of us here are thinking, ay sana nandito si ma'am, yun, sigaw ng sigaw lagi yun, laging nagagalit sa class yun, and using foul language pa minsan. Sana nandito siya, narinig niya tong talk. Well, okay, you can make them listen to the recorded videos, or you can make them attend. We're going to do a rerun of the first 5 series in January that we ran, including teaching like Jesus, teaching strategies from Jesus, and then these 5 talks of this week on building schools of character. Okay, let me describe to you 4 different types of classrooms with different management styles of teachers. Okay, you have the first type of classroom with low control, low support. Low control and low support. Ano ibig sabihin yan? The teacher has low control. And the students have low support of the teacher. Low control now, students are noisy. And the teacher is thinking, bali na nga, wag ko nang pagalitan kasi baka pag pinagalitan ko, baka itong third year high school na to, grade 11 boy na to, baka biglang sumagot pa sa akin. Never mind, sige, magdaldalan kayo dyan. Bahala kayo kung gusto nyong magingay. Low control. May natutulog na estudyante. Gigisingin ko ba to? Baka magalit sa akin. Hindi na ako favorite teacher. Pag ginising ko, never mind, bahala ka dyan matulog. Low control. And low control because they don't know how to go about addressing certain problems of students. And low support. The students don't support that kind of teacher. They don't like that kind of teacher. Because in fact, they say things like, ang ingay ng class, hindi kayang ma-control ni ma'am. Mas marami pa akong natututunan pag binabasa ko ang libro on my own. They don't like the teacher. Bakit kasi siya pa ang naging teacher natin eh? Balita ko, mas magaling si Sister so-and-so, si Ma'am so-and-so, si Mr. so-and-so. Sana doon na lang tayo. Low control, low support. And you know, you're going to produce a classroom that is bored. I mean, the students cannot wait to get out of the classroom. And really, they say things like, bakit kasi siya pang naging teacher natin? Here's another kind of classroom now. Let me describe it to you. Low control, high support. Low control now. Ma'am, pwede kaming kumain. Yes, go ahead, eat. Just make sure walang teacher na dumadaan sa labas, ha? Sir, sige na, I'll just text my boyfriend. Okay, go ahead. Just make sure pag may teacher na dumaan, nako, mako-confiscate yan. Why is the teacher doing that? Kasi parang he's running in a popularity contest. You've met teachers like that? Para bang they're working so hard to be liked by the students. It's like they are running in a popularity contest. Low control. So they don't control, they don't discipline as much, they don't manage because they are after the high support. And some students like it. Uy, okay to kay Sarah. We can eat, we can sleep, we can talk, we can even transfer seats, we can do whatever we want. Nice, cool, chill. Ayan. Minsan ganyan ang sasabihin ng mga bata. Okay yung teacher na yan. Very chill, very cool, hindi stricto. Okay, but not all students are the same, you know. Some students can read through the teacher and they will say, itong teacher na to, nagpapasikat. Parang trying. Tsaka may favoritism siya, may mga favorites siya. Yung mga students especially na parang always pa-cool sa kanya, ayun, not all students are the same. Some will start feeling frustrated. In both cases, of course, ang kawawa dyan is yung bata, kawawang bata. Well, okay, let's describe a third type of classroom. High control, low support. High control now, sit down, keep quiet, stop talking, eyes on the board, eyes here, stop laughing, why are you giggling, get out. High control, inhale, exhale. Para bang ultimo yung paghinga, parang gusto niyang kontrolin. Low support. The students don't like the teacher. They are terrified of the teacher. Here's the problem. It seems to work. It seems to work. Pumasok ka ng classroom ng terror teacher. Uy, ang tahimik ng class. Parang sementeryo. Parang lahat sila patay. No one wants to move. Not even to cough, to sneeze. Kasi natatakot sila, baka biglang pagalitan sila ng teacher to be sent out of the classroom. They don't like that kind of teacher. Here's a sad part. I have seen some students who grew up to be scarred because of one terror teacher or another. And besides, the kind of classroom you're going to produce, a classroom that is waiting for revenge on that teacher. Kaya minsan, school-wide assembly, Pag binanggit ang pangalan ng teacher, ang hiyawan ng mga bata is a different kind. It's not the hiyawan of liking the teacher. It's like gusto nilang pahiyain ang teacher. They want to get back at the teacher. That's revengeful. Parang gusto nilang ipahiya. Basta yung may ibang klase silang gustong gawin for the teacher. What I want you to be, my dear fellow teachers, is good classroom managers who have high control, high support. High control now, you can get the students to study if you want them to study. You can get them to get perfect. Try their best to get perfect in the test because they believe in you, because they know you really want the best for them. You want them to compete in the buwan ng wika, they will do it because you have high control. You know how to control the class. You can manage them. You want them to keep quiet, they will keep quiet. You want them to recite, they will recite. You want them to come up with the best, um, how do you call that, outputs, performance tasks, um, exhibits. They will do the best they can because you can control them. You can make them do what you want them to do, and they support you. And because you have that kind of classroom, you know you're going to produce a successful classroom. You see, the class teacher managing the students in varied ways can produce varied kinds of classrooms. It matters. We have to be good classroom managers so that we are able to make the students do what we want them to do and create a successful class. Okay, Harry Wong says you should have a discipline plan. Okay, procedures and routines are not rules. They're not part of disciplining. They're part of classroom management. But it's good to have a discipline plan. I go around the Philippines visiting schools and I ask them, do you have a discipline plan? Oh yeah, we have two parts in the discipline plan. We have rules, and if they break the rules, we have consequences. Question, what happens if the students follow your rules? Wala. E di masaya ang buhay. E di hindi magagalit ang teacher. No. Harry Wong says the discipline plan should have three parts. The rules, the negative consequences if they break them, if they don't follow them, and there should be rewards, positive consequences if they follow them. In fact, there should be more rewards than penalty. You stand a better chance of getting the students to do what you want them to do if they're working to get a reward than to avoid a punishment. Okay? Now, I repeat, the rules are not the same as the procedures. Procedures, you can have as many as you want. Procedure on how to start the class, how to end the class, how to recite, how to submit papers, how to do homework, procedure on how to borrow a paper. You can have as many procedures for as long as you teach them, rehearse them until they become routines. But rules, there should be not so many, just enough that they can memorize. I mean, if they cannot even memorize them, how do you expect them to follow them? In my class, I'm not saying you should follow this, but in my class, whether it's grade 4 or grade 7 or grade 12 or even senior high, I only have 3 rules all the time. 3 rules. No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movement, come prepared for class. And I explained to the class in the beginning of the school year, ano ibig sabihin ng no unnecessary noise. Talking to your neighbor, tapping your foot on the floor that causes others to get disturbed. No unnecessary movement, standing up without permission, passing on notes without that's not related to the class, and then come prepared for class. Pag sinabi kong bring out 1/4 sheet, please make sure you have 1/4 sheet with you. Pag sinabi kong bring out your ball pen, make sure you have. Pag sinabi kong, okay, now we will have recitation, please make sure you're ready for the recitation. Come prepared for class. Okay? And then, there are negative consequences. Here are some samples of negative consequences according to Harry Wong. Sorry, positive muna, because there should be more positive consequences than negative consequences. You look at this list, some of them are applicable to prep, elementary, some applicable even all the way to high school, even to college. I mean, itong I'm proud of you statement. Class, that presentation given by the different groups yesterday was fantastic. I'm proud of you. That's cheap. I mean, that doesn't cost a single centavo. And yet it's powerful. It's what will encourage students to do even better next time. You ask them to present. You ask them to do a performance task. You ask them to make a diorama. I'm proud of you. Good job. Sometimes I tell my students, class, your presentation yesterday was fantastic. How I wish other schools can see, can watch, can witness what you presented yesterday. That's a reward. That's a positive consequence. They came prepared for class. So some of these, again, as I said, are applicable to prep elementary, like the smiley, the rubber face, the rubber stamp sticker on the hand, on the notebook, on the or a pat on the shoulder. Even college students and MA PhD students sometimes need need a pat on the shoulder. Here are more positive consequences. And you can come up with many more that will make the students do what you want them to do because it's a reward. It's a positive consequence they're working to get. Now, let me highlight one. Visit to principal for special acknowledgement. Please don't equate being sent to the principal as a punishment because I know some schools, I know some teachers who do that. Jan, kanina ka pa dyan ah. Go to the principal's office. Now, yan, galit na si mama, no? Si Jan naman, punta sa principal's office. Tapos nakita ng principal, oh, ba't ka nandito? Sabi ng student, I don't know ma'am, pinapunta ako ng teacher. Wala naman kasi yun sa procedure. Wala naman kasi yun sa I mean, it's not a punishment. Parang pinasa mo lang ang problema sa principal, no? No, I bring my students to the principal's office so that I can tell the principal, ma'am, itong 5 students na to are the top students in the last exam. They deserve an acknowledgement. They deserve a congratulations from the highest officer of the school. Sir, principal, Mr. Principal, this student, he was failing last quarter. This quarter, he is an honor student. He deserves a special commendation from you, my dear principal. There, visiting the principal's office is not a punishment. Should not just be a punishment. Should not be equated to being a punishment. Here are some negative consequences. If the students choose to break any of the rules, here are some possible negative consequences. Some of them applicable to preschool. Some of them applicable even all the way to college, to high school. Diba? Student called to parent at home. Ayan. To inform them about the misbehavior of the son. Okay, sometimes we do that. More negative consequences. As I said, some of you may be trying to copy and you are not able to finish. Don't worry. The whole PowerPoint presentation is downloadable in the Facebook page after my presentation. Give me time to upload it, but by 6 p.m. later or so, this should be ready for downloading, as well as the video of this presentation ready for accessing in YouTube. Okay, so some of them applicable to lower grades, others even all the way to higher levels. More negative consequences. You see, some of these consequences are written in your handbook, student's handbook. Suspension, um, recommendation for alternative school. Ibig sabihin, dismissal, no? From the school. They are also already in your policies. Okay, so the principle we said earlier is there should be more rewards than penalties. You stand a greater chance of being able to get the students to do what you want them to do if the students are working to get a reward than to avoid a penalty. Okay, some more concrete strategies. We are down to the last 10 minutes or so of our seminar for today. Sabi ni Harry Wong, dapat daw yung seminar ng teachers on classroom management, dapat daw ginagawa ito sa ballet studio with mirrors all around. You know why? Because the most powerful, the most effective tool you have to discipline a class is the stare. The stare. Alam mo yung classroom nandyan, tapos ikaw talagang punding-pundi na sa ingay nila. And then you give them that stare. Effective teachers do this. Para bang isang tingin lang nila sa class, suddenly everyone starts keeping quiet. The students start saying, uy, keep quiet. Si ma'am, galit na. Ayan. Wala naman siyang sinabi, wala siyang ginawa, hindi siya sumigaw, tumingin lang siya sa class in that specific kind of stare that sends a message of, hey, come on, class, keep quiet. Come on. I'm already getting fed up. Without saying anything, just with that look. Now, kasi iba-iba ang stare. That's why Harry Wong said, practice this. Look for the perfect stare that gives the message of, come on, class, I expect better behavior from you. This is not what we agreed on in the beginning of the school year, that we are going to be an ideal class, that we are going to be a class of character. Without saying a word, the stare, that look on our face that we give our students says it all. Practice it. Discovered it. Kasi hindi alam ng ibang teacher, yung minsan, yung tingin nila is nagsusumigaw na, hayop kayo mga bata kayo, papatayin ko talaga kayo. Talagang iniinis nyo ko, ginagalit nyo ko. I mean, that is that kind of stare na para bang mga hayop kayong tao kayo, sa ang lupalop ng impyerno kayo nanggaling, yung ganyang klase. Avoid that kind of stare. But instead, look for the perfect stare na pag binigay nyo sa estudyante ninyo, they will keep quiet and they will know that, hey, ma'am, means business now. Stop talking. Ayan. We have to discover it. The stare. That is a very powerful strategy, tool to get our class to be managed, to be disciplined. Here's a strategy I learned from Rafe Esquith, Harry Wong, Hal Urban, Ron Clark, some of the best teachers in the world. The check system. Sabi ng principle of Harry Wong, do not eat up academic time in order to discipline. Okay? Don't waste a single minute, a single second in disciplining the class. So how do you do it? Well, you have to have strategies like the check system. And here's the strategy. I've done it. It works. It worked even all the way to high school. I explain it to the class in the beginning of the school year and they know it. So what does it mean? Remember the principle, don't stop teaching in order to discipline. Don't waste academic time in order to discipline. So remember, I told you there are 3 rules only I have in my class. No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movement, come prepared for class. If a student chooses to break one of these rules, here's what happens. For example, ang subject is English, let's say, okay? I am giving a class in English. And then, subject-verb agreement ang aming pinag-uusapan. Okay, class, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. If the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. Now, I noticed while lecturing, I noticed John and Joey talking to each other. Okay? I don't stop. I don't say what inefficient teachers do. John, Joey, stop talking. How many times do I have to tell you? Keep quiet. No, no. That's eating up into my academic time. And principal says, do not waste academic time in order to discipline. I mean, don't lose academic time. So what do? While still lecturing, I go to the board and write the names of John and Joey on the board. Because I told them at the start of the school year, if I see you choosing to break any of my rules, first, I will write your name on the board. And I didn't stop lecturing. I do it while still saying, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. If the subject, John and Joey will see that. And because I explained it at the start of the school year, alam nila na they just broke one of my rules, no unnecessary noise. And they will keep quiet now while I continue my lecturing. You see, I got them to stop talking without stopping my lecture just by writing their names on the board. I continue lecturing. And then after a few minutes, I notice they're talking again, John and Joey. I don't stop. I don't get angry. I don't shout. I don't say useless things like, are you challenging my authority? I just walk calmly to the board and put a check mark beside the name of John and Joey. They know that one check mark beside your name written on the board means 5 minutes of detention in recess or lunch, whichever is coming up next. A second check mark would mean 10 minutes of detention in recess or lunch, whichever is coming up next. A third check mark means you have to come back on Saturday to do Saturday detention. A fourth check mark means I will have to call up your parents at home to inform them that you have repeatedly broken. So I assure you, they don't want to see a check mark beside their name. They don't want to be detained. Even better is because if at the end of the week I never had to write any name on the board, no one ever got a check mark, the whole class deserves a class reward for having been so cooperative this week. I never had to. Now, here's what I like so much about this check system and the reason why the best teachers in the world use it. It's very fair. It's very fair. You don't go around looking for people to punish. The first time you catch a person breaking one of your rules, you're giving a warning. Writing the name of the student on the board is not a punishment. It's just a warning. You see, it's very fair. It's not like you are eager to punish people. And besides, you have explained it. If you choose to break any of my rules, I put another check mark. So it's a choice. It's not like you are punishing. They chose that to break one of your rules. It's very fair. And here's another thing that is fantastic about the check system. At the end of the period, after taking note of what you wrote on the board, whoever got the check marks, you erase it because the next time you enter the classroom, everybody starts with a clean slate. Everybody deserves a fresh new beginning. And don't make any reference to, John, ha, nakadalawa kayo kahapon sa akin, ha, babantayan ko kayo. No, none of that. That will destroy, that will destroy the system. Everybody deserves a fresh new beginning. So that's the check system, which no wonder it works. It's effective. Here's another one. It's a reward system, the stopwatch system. And especially it works because students are more likely to follow your rules if they are working to get a reward than to avoid a punishment. So, what is this stopwatch system? For example, at the start of the month, my period in Southridge before was 50 minutes. So I would go to the classroom with a stopwatch. Alam mo yung may countdown na when you click it, it starts counting down. So I show the clock to the class. Class, 50 minutes in my stopwatch. You have 50 minutes of reward awaiting you, okay, for this month. But remember, every time I catch someone choosing to break any of my rules, I click the clock and it starts counting down. You start losing seconds from your reward, and I will stop it only when I see that the person is sorry for having chosen to break one of my rules. And every time I catch anybody choosing to break any of my rules, I will click my clock and I will not stop it until I see that they are ready to begin again. For example, I was lecturing about subject-verb agreement. This time, instead of the check system, I will use the stopwatch system. If the subject is singular, the verb is singular. If the subject is plural, and then I notice John and Joey talking, I don't stop my lecture. I don't get angry. I just calmly pick the clock and show it to the class and click it while still lecturing. And then I will not stop it until I see John and Joey stop talking and show me that they really want to behave now. And then I will stop it. John and Joey just made the class lose 5, 6 seconds from the rewards clock. And every time something like that happens. Of course, you know what happens usually. When I look at John and Joey and I raise the clock and I click it, you know what happens? The whole class looks at John and Joey and tells them, John, Joey, stop talking. The clock. Ayan. Because they don't want to lose any second more from the rewards clock. And it's like that day after day after day until the end of the month. The end of the month, whatever is left in the clock, that is now the reward for the class. I'm going to give a menu of rewards to choose from to the class officers to make the whole class decide which one they will like. For example, 50 minutes, and then I clicked it many times throughout the month to get some people to keep quiet. Ang natira na lang, 48 minutes, or let's say kahit 42 minutes of reward. Ang menu that I will give to the class officers will include 42 minutes of quiz B. We will have quiz B. The questions will come from the topics of the month. 42 minutes of video. We will watch a movie related to the lesson of the month. 42 minutes of Gymkhana treasure hunt. I'm going to hide some clues in the gym and hahanap sila. Two teams fighting against each other. The first team to be able to formulate the statement based on the clues hidden there. They like it. And the statement has something to do with the lesson. Or I don't even mind 42 minutes of funny videos because I never had to lose time in my lecturing, in my academic time. I covered everything I needed to cover thanks to the watch, thanks to the clock, thanks to the system. And I never had to raise my voice and I never had to get angry. They deserve the 42 minutes of reward. It has to be a reward that the whole class will be eager to win, to get. And that is like, it's like that. The system is going to be like that month after month after month, with the clock determining if they are how many minutes they're going to be receiving as a reward by the end of the month. It works. I mean, really, I tell you, the system works. Well, okay, unfortunately, it's 5 o'clock and we've run out of time. But as I said, the PowerPoint presentation will contain a lot more than what I have been able to cover because you can still get many ideas from those slides. Very well. With the strategies I've given you, and there are many more to learn, some of you are already thinking, ay, ang dami palang dapat pang pag-aralan, dagdag trabaho to, itong yeah, there are two roads that are ahead of you. One road leads to a place where people have character, are disciplined, have self-control, have temperance. And the people there are fantastic people. They support each other. But there's another road that leads to a place where people do not have self-control, do not have character, they abuse each other, they use each other there, where do you want to go? Of course, all of us want to reach that place where students have character, students have responsibility, have respect, have kindness, but we have to work on it. It's not going to be very easy, but it's worthwhile because it's the people, it's the young people who are counting on us. And the strategies I taught you, okay, some of them will require preparations on our part, effort on our part, learning more on our part, but it's worthwhile if it's the future of the young people that is at stake. Okay, well, again, everyone is supposed to get their certificate. Um, Please give us time. There was one who was complaining, Sir, I have not received my certificate yet. This morning lang siya nag-email, ano. Give us a bit of time. I mean, there are 600 so far or 500 certificates so far that need print. But so far, all those who have emailed, hopefully, until 12 noon today, all of them have been able to receive their certificate. Don't forget to put the title and then the name that you want to appear in the certificate, okay? Um, because some still don't follow it. They just send an email saying, Sir, can I ask for a certificate? And I ask, who are you? I mean, okay, your name appears in the email address, but I don't know your full name. So please make sure you send this, the name you want to appear in the certificate, and then the title of the seminar you're asking for, to catalystpds@gmail.com. And if you're not yet with us in the Facebook group, please do so. If you want the so many fantastic handouts available there for downloading, for the not so tech savvy in us here, um, scroll down the Facebook page because the materials are scattered all over, okay? Not just the ones on top. And then the PowerPoint, this PowerPoint presentation, as well as the link to the YouTube video of this talk will be there in a while. Facebook.com/groups/schools of character. I hope you will still join us in our future seminars. This is the next one tomorrow, and it's not just for administrators. Um, how do we get invited into the Facebook group? Look for the group, click join, and then wait to be admitted in. You will be admitted in. I mean, no one has ever been denied admission to the group because I assume that if you are asking to be admitted into the Facebook group, it's because you were with us in the seminar. Okay, so look for the page and then click on join the group. Tomorrow, it's, as I said, it's not just for administrators and principals, but it is especially for them. Um, but everyone is welcome to join us. And then I mentioned at the start of the talk, I hope you support this big international conference we're holding. It's going to be also via Zoom with Dr. Michelle Borba, the practically already the leading um, expert in character formation, who's going to talk about how to raise these students, um, mentally healthy kids, students, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of the troubled times we're living in right now. Okay? For more information, please visit characterconferences.com. Great. Okay, now we've come to the mandatory, how do you call this? Screenshot class pictures. There are um, 91 of us left in the group. We were 101 earlier. I think the others either logged out or were logged out by Smart or Google or okay, well, 4 pages, and please give us your biggest, widest, fakest smile in one, two, and three. Okay, I don't know what page you're in, so let's just assume you're in every page. Page two now, in four, three, two, smile, and one. Page three of our Zoom. turn on your screen if you want your face to be your smiling face to appear in 3, 2, and 1. And finally, the last page, picture of the participants who are happy, ayan, smiling, not afraid to smile at the students in 3, 2, and 1. Great. Okay, well, that brings to an end our session. If you have any question about the certificates, about activities, about the talk, whatever, please email catalystpds@gmail.com. And I hope we see you again in our future seminars. And I hope you have been able to get ideas from this afternoon session. And so I wish you luck, good luck in all your endeavors. I'm going to end this meeting in 5, 4. God bless everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. 3, 2. See you in Facebook. See you in our future seminars. And 1. Maraming salamat. Goodbye everyone. Stay safe. God bless.